Wow. Wow, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I think that this creates a great opportunity to speak and to open a new dialogue, a new conversation about the state of Israel, about the world Jewry, and basically about the relationship between Israel and the world Jewry and the common future, the shared future for us, Jews, Israelis, Jews who live here, Jews who live in the state of Israel, Israelis who live in the states of Israel, and Israelis who live here. And I believe that you are here, we all here, because we truly care. We truly care about the state of Israel. We truly care about the connection between Israel and the world Jewry. And it's clear, and it was described at the beginning, that we are going to have some disputes about the relations, about the meaning of the state of Israel. And as was said before, this is like in the best families, especially in Jewish families, this is what we know to do best. But we say in Hebrew that you don't choose your family, but I believe that the Jewish family need to make some choices about the identity of the state of Israel, about the relations. And I'm here basically also to say that we cannot and we are not giving up the relations with the world Jewry. This is the responsibility of my generation in the state of Israel. Now, since the state of Israel was established, basically the relations between Israel and the world Jewry was based on an understanding that Israel is a small state surrounded by enemies. And we have security challenges, of course. Israel is a small state surrounded by enemies. And it's a tough neighborhood. And the Arab Spring turned in some places into an Islamic winter. And there are terror Islamist groups that would like to ignite the region. And Iran, that doesn't recognize the right of Israel to exist, is now moving forward toward a nuclear weapon. We have Hamas in Gaza targeting Israeli civilians, and we have, unfortunately, stagnation and stalemate in the negotiations for peace. So the good news is that Israel is a strong state. And the other good news is connected to the relations between us, because when Israel faced this kind of troubles, security risks, war, operation, these were the moments in which we knew that you, living here, but yet supporting us. As I'm sure that you know that after each and every anti-Semitic attack here or in other places in Europe, we are all feel the concern and being hurt for the same reason. This is so touching and moving, and this makes it wonderful. In a way, we are at our best in times of trouble. But I want to ask, is that enough? I mean, this is what connects us? The fact that we have enemies? I mean, if we reach peace tomorrow morning, hopefully, what connects us? I believe that we need more than just being united because there are those that are against us. I believe that we need to have a shared vision that connects us and continue to be together in times of war and operation and threats. And I don't take it for obvious. And I would like to thank you for standing with Israel in those times. But today, this is time to speak about the future and to try to describe a shared vision for us in Israel and the world Jewry. Now, I believe that it's quite difficult sometimes to define emotions or feelings. And I think that all of you and all of us, we all feel the same when it comes to the connection between Israel, or that Israel represents also the Jewish people. And this was my feeling also as a decision maker in the state of Israel. I do remember my first trip as a member of parliament, it was to Moscow. So we stopped, of course, duty-free, Ben Gurion Airport. And I bought one thing, and this is here the Magen David. I felt that this is the moment in which I'm going outside of Israel, and I had, this let my people go, the idea of coming to Moscow, and I need to have this in order to remind me that I represent something which is more than just the party or even Israel. And this is something that connects us. So this is about how it feels. But what does it really mean? Now, when the State of Israel, it was a moment of consent. Well, frankly, one moment of consent is more important than it is for you. And this was the moment in which the Rabbi of Tel Aviv agreed to set the marriage between my parents that got married the same day the State of Israel was established. Now, for you, it's the obvious. Okay, so they got married, so what? Is this a Jewish audience? It's Sfirat HaOmer. The State of Israel was established in Sfirat HaOmer, and you cannot get married between Passover and Shavuot, but you don't know my grandmother. She forced the Rabbi of Tel Aviv to set the marriage, so my parents came out of the underground. Both of them were freedom fighters in the Irgun. And the next day, my father joined the army, and this was the moment in which a rabbi set a young couple marriage in Sfirat HaOmer. Just imagine today if a rabbi, after getting the permission from the Rabbanut, to set this kind of marriage. But anyway, well, this is my own private joy. But the same day, there was another consent. And this was the Declaration of Independence of the State of Israel. And this is really, we don't have a constitution, but the idea, the vision of the State of Israel was set in this declaration. And basically it said that the State of Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people with equal rights to all its citizens. It also called for peace. And it stated also something about the relations between Israel and the world Jewry, even though basically it called the world Jewry to support Israel. This is an old dialogue that we will discuss later. But basically, the idea, and this is very important to understand, one after the other came leaders of different parties in the State of Israel, those that really hated each other, those that really had this political argues even before the State of Israel was established. And they all signed. Socialist, communist, Haredim, ultra-Orthodox. They gave up when he signed the Scroll of Independence, the idea of an halachic state. And also the revisionists, Menachem Begin and this group, the group of my parents, decided, in a way, to give up the idea of Greater Israel for the establishment of a Jewish state. And I believe that this is also, in a way, the choice that we are facing today. But this was their priority. They felt that this is this kind of a moment in which they all need to be united for something. We had enemies those days as well. But they wrote something of substance, of content, a shared vision that we all agreed upon. This is what happened in the State of Israel, the newly born state, when here in the United States, the Jewish friend of President Truman convinced him to give his okay and his support for the newly born state. So altogether, two different events. One happened in the land of Israel, the creation of the State of Israel, and the other, the recognition of the United States of America in the newly born state that was called the same day the State of Israel. Okay, this is so nice. So what are we all going to speak about today? We need also to understand the nature of the challenges that we are facing. And the obvious of 48 is not obvious anymore, unfortunately. not in Israel, and not in some parts of the world Jewry. And we have also in Israel some changes that in a way alienates also some of us within the state Israel from Judaism, and also when it comes to young generation in the Jewish communities, they also feel alienated to the state of Israel. So the whole dialogue was something like, okay, we are there in the state of Israel, safe shelter for you in case of anti-Semitism, and you will be there for us in times of the days that we would need your help in putting in a way a pressure sometimes on an American administration, supporting us, contributions. We love to be loved by the world Jewry. I believe that this is the old dialogue. I think that we should change this dialogue. One, because it is also about threats. And frankly, Israel not always is a safe shelter. I mean, we are facing some threats as well in the state of Israel. And I do believe that we need to start speaking about vision. And let's start about what we can agree upon. And the easiest thing is to speak about Israel as a Jewish democratic state, secured state in the land of Israel. How nice. We can agree about this. Now, the challenge is to understand some of the realities that we are facing. And frankly, even in this simple sentence that I just shared with you, we have some disputes. What is a Jewish state? What is a democratic state? Is the Jewish democratic state will be on all over the land of Israel, between the river and the sea, or just on part on the ancient land of Israel? When I'm looking at the Jewish communities, I see these changes. The grandparents, wow, they cried with joy when the state of Israel was established. It was a miracle. Their children, they were horrified when the state of Israel was under attack in Yom Kippur War. Some of them even came to Israel to help. And the grandchildren, well, they were born, thank God, thank the United States of America, to a strong state. When we are looking at the region from a satellite or a bird eye point of view, and we look at this small state, their friends in the campus, they look at Israel from a Google Earth point of view. And what they see is the Goliath of the region. We feel the Davids, and they see the Goliaths. And trust me, it broke my heart to meet Hillel's students, and one of them told me that her liberal friends, when they heard that she's joining Hillel, they said, no, 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 you need to choose. Because being a liberal means to be vegan and to join BDS. And this is a trend in some parts that young Jewish students need to deal with. And I appreciate the efforts that they are doing, but some would prefer, to take a step aside because it's becoming problematic to defend and stand with the state of Israel. Now, add on top of this, and we are speaking today openly and frankly, the disputes among the American society, the political dispute, is something that affects also the relations. I mean, Israel was bipartisan all these years. And now it's a kind of a political issue in the agenda of the elections in the United States. So this also creates some problems to some parts of the Jewish communities, how to relate to the state of Israel when it's not the obvious, but it's a political dispute. Now, so here your Jewish identity is a personal issue. When the state of Israel was established, there was a need to define it. What does it mean, a Jewish state? Now, I believe that being a Jewish state means that Israel reflects the Jewish identity of the Jewish people from a national perspective. We share the same history, the same culture, the same set of values, and also the same religion. But yet, I believe that each and every one can decide what is the way he or she expresses his own faith and religion. Now, you know, for me, last Yom Kippur, I was in Boston, in the United States, and my husband came to visit. And it's Yom Kippur, and we cannot drive, we do not drive. So I put in Google, synagogue near me, to see where is the closest synagogue to the place I live. And that was it. And we walked, 20 minutes, it was fine. We entered the synagogue. First time I sat with my husband during Yom Kippur in a synagogue, even though I came to the synagogue, you know, with a skirt, because this is what my mother told me when I went to synagogue in Israel. And it was fine. And I didn't ask, is this synagogue belong to one stream or another in Judaism? I truly didn't care. It was wonderful there. And there were two flags in the synagogue, the American flag and the Israeli flag. And they were speaking about the Talmud and the meaning of Yom Kippur to all of us. So why should us, the state of Israel, define to you or to somebody how to express their connection to the Jewish religion? Now, the debate on the nature of Israel as a Jewish state, this is very legitimate. But the dialogue on the meaning of Israel as a Jewish state, each one has a legitimate voice. I have a legitimate voice, you have a legitimate voice, and the monopoly on the Jewishness of the state of Israel shouldn't be given to the ultra-Orthodox parties in Israel. And I would like also to explain why. I mean, I respect their opinion, but this is one opinion. Because inside the state of Israel, this also gives young people, young Israelis, they themselves feel alienated to Judaism, because they say, if Judaism, this is what we see in the Israeli parliament, in the Knesset, no way, we don't need it, we don't want it. And I feel sorry for it, because I do feel and hope that this Jewish music would remain also in Israel for generation and generation. I'm not, in definition, against it, I'm for it. Secondly, in the connection between Israel and the world Jewry, when you hear these voices coming from some of the rabbis, not recognizing different streams in Judaism, so what does it mean to be the nation state of the Jewish people if those that are responsible of the Jewishness of the state basically say to Jews outside of Israel, well, you are not part of us, not acceptable. And more than that, and this is something also important. When Israel and there is a process of delegitimizing the existence of the state of Israel as a Jewish state, I was the one that as a foreign minister and vice prime minister of the state of Israel explained to different leaders and foreign ministers, what does it mean? Because they said, what does it mean? I mean, to be a Jew, it's a matter of religion. And they said, no, it is also a matter of religion, but this is part of being a people. It's peoplehood. And therefore, the right of Israel to exist is based on a national movement and the recognition of the United Nations and the entire international community that the Jewish people has the right for self-determination in a state of our own. Now, I believe in the rights of the Jewish people, biblical, judicial, whatever. But when it comes to those delegitimizing the state of Israel, it's not a religious thing. It's a matter of being one people and the right of our people for a state, and therefore this definition, we all need to define it together as part of the new dialogue, and it's not a matter of religion. Now, I believe that the way I speak about it gives the possibility to have the values of the state of Israel as a Jewish democratic state living in harmony and not in contradiction. Because my Judaism is also based on values. It's liberal. I mean, love thy neighbor. Is it in the American Constitution? No. The way you should react or accept the foreigners amongst us. Is it something that connects as a favor that we are doing to democracies. No, this is part of who we are. And therefore, equality in the state of Israel and equal rights to all its citizens without discrimination, including the Arab citizens within the state of Israel, is not a favor. This is not a favor of the Jewish state to the democratic state. And it's not a favor to the Arabs. It's about who we are. And therefore, the law saying that Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people should include also another word, equality. Not as a favor, because it's not my vision. This is the scroll of independence, the identity card of the state of Israel when it was born, and this is something that we should keep. And we should, and this is the responsibility of our generation, to keep the hyphen between these two words, Jewish democratic. It goes together, not one above the other. And I don't want my children or your children to choose between a Jewish state or a democratic state. And therefore, we need to put in the substance that makes it possible to these values to live in harmony. And this should be basically our national destination in our national ways. And when you have this, you know where to go and which roads to choose. And when I was in a decision-making position, this was what's written on the wall. And therefore, in order to keep the values living in harmony, my choice was to stop in the way when the destination is Jewish democratic secured state in a station. And this is the peace station. Because the idea is to separate ourselves from the Palestinians. And when I stop at this station, I'm not thinking about how to create a Palestinian state. I'm thinking about how to keep Israel a Jewish democratic state. And when this is the vision, it is also clear that democracy is a set of values. And I hear some voices talking about democracy as, you know, it's system of election. No. It's more than system of election. As Judaism is more than just how you keep the mitzvot. Also, democracy is a set of values, of freedom, of human rights, of freedom of expression. And this is part also that should be part of our identity, and it's not contradicts the idea and the meaning of Israel as a Jewish state. And therefore, there is no, the idea of democracy and security are not in contradiction as well. And also the discussion that you see now in the state of Israel about the Supreme Court, this is not just connected to corruption as some might think. This is about a discussion that goes underneath the surface for many years. What is the source of authority for our lives in Israel? Is it the Constitution or the law? And therefore, the Supreme Court is the interpreter, or is it the halacha, or the rabbi? And therefore, it is so important for us to have this dialogue in Israel, because Israel and people are going to the extreme. And we are losing something, and this is such a pity, because when I grew up in Tel Aviv as a small child, at my home, the house were different apartments. Well, my parents were a kind of Masortim. I mean, they choose what to do in Shabbat. I mean, my mother, after Yom Kippur, she promised, she made the oath that if my brother would come back safe from the war, she will stop cooking in Shabbat. But yet, we opened television. When I start smoking, I quit. But when I start smoking, she was speaking with me not about my health, but you can do whatever you want, but please, on Saturday, not near the religious neighbors. And when we drove in Saturday, not near the synagogue. Because this was them. And then the apartment, under our apartment, they were Haredim, but really Haredim. And she was my best friend. And there next door were completely Chilonim, the place in which I learned what does it mean to be non-kosher at all. And in another apartment, there was a family that was connected to the national religion Zionism. And we all played together, so we knew each other. And what's happening in Israel now is that we don't have this dialogue, and therefore we don't know each other. Because each apartment became another house, and then another neighborhood, and then another city, and town, and village. So my children would not meet these different parts of the society, because it's different schools, it's different way of life. Sometimes it's even different languages, and unfortunately, it is also different religious parties. So all this vision is turning into a political issue of, forcing one the other and not speaking one to the other. So let's agree on something, saying, and I believe that this is maybe the last days in which we can make this understanding that Israel is a Jewish democratic state, nation state of the Jewish people with equal rights to citizens, secured state in the land of Israel. Now, I know that each one can put different substance to this sentence. And this is my ways, and for my ways, I cut and make my decision. And we have different opinions about it. But when we know that this base, even if it is, very thin, but this is something that connects us, so on top of this, we can argue. And I know that this is arguing within the family with love. And by the way, we can criticize once in a while a different Israeli government policy. It's fine. It doesn't mean that those that are doing it are against the state of Israel, as long as we keep this understanding, Jewish, democratic, secure state. Israel has the right to exist as a Jewish state, and Israel has the right to defend itself. When we agree on this, something about security. I know that there are those saying, okay, the problem with all this democratic stuff is that our soldiers cannot fight against terror. So in my last days in the Israeli parliament, I chaired a committee that I established that basically was on legal warfare to ask all this question: how can we meet those that are trying to make it difficult on the Israeli soldiers to fight terror? And I invited to this meeting the representative of Tzahal, of IDF, and I asked them one question: do you feel that you are abiding by international law, or that somebody is telling you not to do something that you believe that you should do as soldiers? And the commander there, high rank, said something that I wanted to hug him, because he said it's not the international law, it's our values. And this is who we are. And therefore, there is no problem, and the idea of Israel as a secured state doesn't contradict the idea of a Jewish state and democratic state, and this is part of the understanding that we need to preserve, because I would never, 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 never accept those that make the equivalence between these terrorists that are looking for civilians to kill and Israeli soldiers. And this is something that we need to give the tools to young people in the campus, because I think that they are the most important. The young generation. Those that sometimes they feel connected to, but they don't have the tools. They don't know what to answer. Sometimes they need even to have some facts about our history, about what's happening, about what happened in the peace process with the Palestinians, about what are the values of the state of Israel. And we need to have them as part of this new dialogue. I believe that this is the most important goal and task for Israel and the world Jewry together this day, to touch different young people who feel in different parts of the United States, those who are coming to the JCC and those that are staying at home, those that are fighting for Israel and join Hillel, and those that are not. Because otherwise, we would lose them. And this is something that I'm more willing to face. So just before completing this and before joining also my friends to enter into this debate, I don't want this speech to be finished with, some sad messages. And usually when we faced different challenges, Ariel Sharon, who was really, really, really a great prime minister, and I really missed him, he was telling about his life when he was a young child in Israel, and his father was a farmer. So his father used to take him to the field, and it's Israel, it's very hot. And after, they used to work and work and work, and then Arik, the child, used to say to his father, well, let's go home, look what we have to work. What a long way we need to accomplish today. And his father used to say to him, not look forward, look backward. Look at what we already achieved. So for a moment, let's look back at the state of Israel. It's really a miracle. Startup nation, democratic state, the strongest state in the region, a wonderful Jewish state that contributes to the world in technology, startups, medicine, Nobel Prizes. What a pride. And I know that there are saying, okay, yes, that is true, but you are different tribes living one next to the other. And maybe when I related to the state of Israel, describing also the dispute, this was in a way the understanding, but maybe. But I believe that Israel is a kind of a jigsaw puzzle in which you have different parts of this jigsaw. And each part is beautiful. And we don't need to decide which part is better than the other, is beautiful than the other. Altogether, this creates a wonderful picture. You are part of this picture. And the responsibility of the leadership of the Jewish communities and in Israel is to make the connection between the different parts of the puzzle to go smoothly. And all together create a wonderful picture, which is the state of Israel. Thank you.